That's so much funnier than what I said. Being a sugar baby is illegal now? Yeah, literally. Clarence Thomas is a sugar baby. Clarence Thomas is Harlan Crow's sugar baby.
When some of Mr. Trump's co-defendants are expected to be arraigned. Let's go to CNN's Zach Cohen. So, Zach, what exactly did the former president file?
Yeah, Dana, Donald Trump pleading not guilty in this case, and it takes some perspective here. This is the fourth time Donald Trump has now entered a not guilty plea in response to criminal charges since he's left office just a couple years ago, and that's a pretty remarkable uncharted territory we're in now. But this is the most recent case, the one in Georgia, where he is charged with allegedly trying to overturn the presidential election results there. It remains to be seen how this might impact a trial. There's a lot of moving pieces still that could determine timing, but
he's not guilty, okay? In my heart of hearts, I know he's not guilty because he did everything right. I'm sorry. Here's some new MAGA memes, wild as hell. I love the wild. Spanish for today, please? What do you mean? No, we're not doing that.
Look, the Fulton County DA, Fani Willis, stands by her position that she wants to try Donald Trump and the 18 other co-defendants in this case all together. Trump is really just one of a handful of defendants who have entered a not guilty plea so far, but we do expect there will be more to come. And, it remains to be seen if Fani Willis will be able to try all 19, including Trump, together at some point.
Okay, thank you so much for that reporting. Appreciate it, Zach. Joining our conversation, CNN's Sarah Murray, CNN's Caitlin Polantz, and former Georgia prosecutor Chris Timmons. I'll start with you, Mr. Timmons. You are down in Georgia. What is your take on why the former president chose this route this time?
Sure. So there are two ways that an arraignment can happen. And waiver is the most traditional way that an arraignment is going to go. People are going to waive. No one needs to come to court. You're not going to waste an attorney's time. I'm not
going to lie. He did this for me because on the 6th, I was planning on doing something with my family. Okay. I was planning on doing something with my family on the 6th. And Donald Trump kind of cooked that a little bit because I thought he was going to do like the arraignment and then there was going to be a whole ordeal surrounding the arraignment. And then he was like, nah, don't worry, baby. I'll just fucking waive it online. So there is no content on that day. So you don't miss out on my beautiful ass, getting arraigned. So thank you, Donald. I love you. Thank you. You are my goat. You are my king. You are the legend. God hates Australia. What? So he did that on purpose. He's out. He is a secret watcher, I think. He's a secret watcher. He's gifting subs at the top of the hour, allowing people to no longer see those ads. He's just the GOAT. He is my GOAT. Okay? I'll say it. I'll tell it like it is. Okay? I'll tell you how it is. I'll tell it like it is. He's my GOAT. He doesn't want you to see ads. He wants you to no longer see the ads. That's why he gifts. Sakura, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. You also can engage in the not seeing of ads at the top of the hour. So, yeah, that's a 10-10 segue. 305.
Welcome back to the comment section.
What is this?
I'm Brett Cooper.
We will not comply. This has 500,000 views. Let me guess. This is the mask mandates. He's not going to comply to the mask mandates that aren't even fucking real. That's what you want me to watch, right? Anyway, here's the 3-minute ad break now, by the way, before I forget. Let's move on. A small taco. Thank you for the 5 gifted. Why am I even here? Thank you for the 5 gifted. A swarm of bees in a trench coat. Thank you for this 10 gifted. Why is Ben Shapiro dressing like a girl? Listen, man, HRT does wonders. Do you understand? HRT does wonders. Look at how much happier she is, too, to be in her own skin. Like, this is what they want to take away from you. You know what I mean? Like, true happiness is when you realize who you actually are. You know what I mean? When you're done with all the lies. Also, estrogen does make you look significantly more youthful, as you can tell. Like, it makes your skin better. I mean, it's obvious to me. Look. So, but let's get back to this.
Alternative to that is what's referred to as formal arraignment. And I thought that former President Trump might try to do formal arraignment. And that's the situation where the judge or the assistant district attorney reads the entire indictment into the record. And at the end of it, then the defendant enters their plea, generally says, not guilty. So here, what benefit the former president might have had for a formal arraignment is that he could have come in, had the indictment read, and then made a very dramatic statement of not guilty, perhaps leaning forward like he did in his mugshot. However, this is a 96, 98 page long indictment. So the former president would have had to sit there for approximately an hour and a half to 2 hours before he could have that dramatic moment. And of course, probably all the cameras are turned away. So I think that's why there's a waiver. There's no dramatic moment here unless you're hanging out for about 2 hours listening to somebody read.
That might be true, Sarah Murray. You have covered Donald Trump for many years now. And it's the drama, the word drama that Chris used.
Drama.
It's a bit surprising that he is foregoing that drama. Yeah, he has to sit in the courtroom for an hour and a half, but he understands the spectacle that he creates because he's done it now twice in the 4 cases that he's had to deal with. And it's a bit surprising that he's not taking advantage of it since he believes it's helping him in the short term politically.
Yeah, I do think he's realized it's not all that fun to go to court. So he already got the sort of drama of showing up in Georgia to participate in this arrest, to get the mugshot that he, of course, has repurposed in a number of ways to make money off of. He's also been complaining very loudly that all the time he has to spend in a courtroom takes away from his ability to campaign and to hold the kind of events that he really wants to hold, which are these big rallies where all his supporters have gathered to cheer his name. So, given the opportunity to perhaps be on the road and hold another rally versus sitting in a courtroom for the better part of the day, with a number of his other co-defendants, I think Donald Trump decided to skip it this time.
That sounds very logical. No.
Yeah, I mean, in this usually, in fact.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just like a waste of time. Like, he can't campaign around it as much because it's not like a physical thing that he needs to do. So I suspect he just didn't want to fucking waste time, and instead of doing it, like doing a whole ordeal where he is, doing like a Zoom call for 15 minutes to plead not guilty, where they read him all the charges. He just did it like that.
Federal court. This is a state court case, so it's
Sitting patiently for an hour or two. How would that make him look strong, dude? He's not sitting. I don't think. These things don't happen to Donald Trump in the same way that it would happen to you, okay? No, Donald Trump's orange 215 pound, 6'3" ass is not sitting in a fucking Georgia courtroom for 3 hours. It would have just been done over Zoom probably, and it would have taken 5 minutes maximum. And instead of doing it at the time and place, he just did it ahead of time.
It's a little different. They bundle it all together. And the scintillating part is actually the bond agreement and the discussion of the release conditions and the arrest. That already happened. That's what we saw last week happen in Georgia at the jail. Sarah was over at the jail. I was at the courthouse. We saw all of this play out day by day. And so the not guilty part, that is essentially a formality at this point, which is why it's being done on paper. But the thing that this does now that does make court exciting is that now that everybody gets their initial pleadings of not guilty locked in, this is when people start making choices. Do they plead guilty? I mean, we keep talking about this case as having 19 defendants. All of these people are not going to go in the same direction, and maybe they do all go to trial, but the likelihood of that's just not how the criminal justice system functions.
Okay, there's something else that we want to talk about, and that is that Rudy Giuliani is now joining the likes of Alex Jones. And in the eyes of the law, they are both liars who defamed innocent people. Judge Beryl Howell said that the former New York City mayor should have known better when he tried to take a shortcut around his legal obligations and around the truth, and it may cost him millions.
Our expectation is that we'll be able to prove tens of millions of dollars in compensatory damages.
Tens of millions?
Yep, you heard me correctly.
You know what's really funny? So one of the things that Donald Trump is charged for is an aggravated is a crime that Donald Trump basically, as a talking point, turned into a more serious offense, which was mishandling classified documents, because that was a whole thing about like Hillary Clinton, right? Like, that was the whole issue around Hillary Clinton. And in order to, instead of locking her up, he just, like, weirdly enough decided to make it like a more serious crime, which he then committed. So that was really funny. there is another obvious ironic situation here with like Rudolph Giuliani getting hit with a RICO, something that he basically weaponized and popularized as a prosecutor. But the other part of this is also defamation. So what am I saying with this? Donald Trump has lost a defamation suit, and now Rudolph Giuliani is losing a defamation or a defamation charge on top of everything else. And Donald Trump has constantly campaigned on making defamation rules more strict, like greatly expanding on defamation. So it seems like pure projection keeps clapping these dudes. Not that he was able to actually change that. He didn't move the needle on it at all, but I do find it quite interesting that, like, he keeps getting cooked by his own advocacy.
Giuliani made the choice to not comply with discovery demands in a lawsuit filed by 2 Georgia election workers. And now he finds himself sanctioned, liable for those lies. Howell, the judge, wrote off Giuliani's legal excuses as having more holes than Swiss cheese. And that's 50 years in litigation should, at least that's what he did when he was practicing as an attorney. It should have taught him that lip service will never satisfy a court of law. Former federal prosecutor Shan Wu joins the table as well. Shan, what do you make of this decision by the judge when it comes to, this is a civil case right now going on in Georgia for these 2 women who were very much defamed and their lives were turned upside down. They described it in real detail when they were testifying before the January 6th committee.
Yeah, it's not too surprising that the judge saw through his defenses here. He really made sort of an odd legal.
In a financial disclosure, Justice Clarence Thomas acknowledges he took 3 trips last year on a private plane owned by mega donor Harlan Crow. Nothing wrong with that, brother. I don't understand. Like, what do you mean? Fellas, is it illegal to hang out with the homies? Like, what's happening here? I'm sorry. If that's wrong, I don't want to be right. Okay? If taking a trip with the boys on a PJ is wrong, then I'm the wrongest motherfucker out there. Didn't realize it was illegal to go on vacation with the boys.
Move. He submitted this pleading. He called it really a nolo contendere pleading, which usually means.
That's so much funnier than what I said. Being a sugar baby is illegal now. Yeah, literally. Clarence Thomas is a sugar baby. Clarence Thomas is Harlan Crow's sugar baby. That's awesome.
There's no contest. And he basically admitted that what he said was false, but he still wanted to say he had a right to say it under the First Amendment. So that's sort of a textbook case of defamation, that you know you're saying something false, and yet you strongly assert you have the right to say it. It's not like it was by accident or something like that. So I think that's really going to hurt him on the damages issue. Compensatory, tens of millions, a little bit hard to figure out how they get to that. That's usually your out-of-pocket damages. You had an injury, you got treatment, maybe mental distress counseling. But on the punitives, I think he's looking at a world of hurt there because the judge is going to be pissed off at him.
Chris Timmons, yeah, it clearly already is. Chris Timmons, you're down in Georgia where all of this occurred. What's your take on what the judge said to Giuliani yesterday?
Sure. So the funny thing is I'm a former prosecutor, but I'm a current civil litigator here in Georgia. And so what the judge basically said is if you fail to obey the discovery rules, at some point there's going to be a sanction, and that means that your answer is going to be struck. And so what happens at that point, once your answer is struck, we're down to one issue, no longer liability, but rather how damaged were these poll workers. And so he's still entitled to a little bit of a trial at this point, or at least a damages hearing to figure out what those amounts are. But that's a pretty serious sanction. That's the highest sanction you can get in a civil litigation when you're a defendant, is to have your answer struck. So that's a very big deal.
I want to turn to something that Donald Trump said on the Glenn Beck radio show, or maybe it was a podcast. He talked to Glenn Beck, and he was talking about the notion of when or if he becomes president again, how he will deal with his political opponents.
You said in 2016, lock her up. And then when you became president, you said, we don't do that in America. That's just not the right thing to do. That's what they're doing. Do you regret not locking her up?
Yeah, that he's bitch made, dog. He's bitch made. That's what it is. And you're bitch made too. I mean, we all know Glenn Beck is a bitch. Obviously, he is the one who was like running on the anti-Trump apologia tour and then turned back around and was like pro-Trump and then anti-Trump again, but then pro-Trump again. He doesn't know what's going on, okay? Glenn Beck, also famously, for those of you who don't know, is the only person to be fired from Fox News for not sexually assaulting people. Like, out of their entire lineup, he is the only one who wasn't fired for sexually assaulting people, but instead fired for being too kooky. Okay? He was literally too crazy for Fox News. Just understand that real quick. Every single person, for the most part, every single person was like fired for obvious shit, like sexual assault, sexual harassment, discrimination lawsuits, like, you know, things that you see on camera that they actually do off camera as well, being a real problem for a company that wants to be like a normal media company, right? However, Glenn Beck, as far as we know, Tucker Carlson was, we don't know what the exact reasons are for Tucker Carlson, but the suspicion was always for Tucker Carlson that the suspicion was that it was a discrimination, the ongoing discrimination suit, and his like back and forth with management. Like they thought that he was too much of a, he was the youngest flexer in the game. They thought he had too much power, or that he was you know, aware of how much power he had. Glenn Beck straight up was fired for being too insane. Glenn Beck famously also popularized the Pepe Sylvia style that you see on Always Sunny. The Pepe Sylvia style, connecting the dots, like connecting Barack Obama to the Vatican and then connecting them back to like the mullah or something. You know what I mean? Like he would do that all the time. He also was, I think, on a lot of drugs. He was like crazy. Let me see if I can find you guys like a Glenn Beck whiteboard. So you know. Yeah. Look at that.